As we continue through this unique season in the life of the church and in the life of our community and world, I wanted to make sure that I gave you some regular updates as to what's happening at Indian Run. So I thank you for taking the next 5 minutes or so to hear our latest update for June 22nd, 2020. So the first thing we wanted to share with you is that we've heard from some folks that some checks that were mailed in the month of April have not yet been cashed by the church. And so we looked into that, and we feel that none of the checks have been cashed fraudulently by someone else, but we did not receive some checks during that time period. Maybe they were taken out of our mailbox. And so what we'd like you to do is to double check your records. We're going to be sending mid-year financial statements out at the beginning of July. And so we'd invite you to double check those records, make sure that everything is as it should be. And the other thing we wanted you to know is that we have installed a new mailbox. It has a lock on it so that any mail that is received will be securely locked, and nobody will be able to access it unless they have that key. So we feel like that should address any problems like that going forward. The next thing I wanted to do is to give you an update about where we are with thoughts on reopening. So as I shared in my last update, we gathered a task force that met, and the task force decided that we didn't want to return to in-person worship until we were able to provide an effective, high-quality live stream from the sanctuary like we're able to provide online as we have been doing the last couple months. We decided that we wanted to do it in that way. For me, it was a sense of pastoral care and also a little bit of justice. I wanted to make sure that we weren't offering something to the folks who are in person in worship, and the folks who aren't able to come in person would have to miss out on that opportunity. And so we decided that we're going to wait until we can effectively live stream our services. Now, the good news is that live stream, the products for live streaming are on order. We've placed the order. We're moving forward with that. But there is some bad news. The bad news is that churches like ours all across the country are ordering these same cameras. And so these cameras are on a back order nationwide for about 6 to 8 weeks. So that puts us into about mid-August before we would be able to fully return to worship. Now, I know that that's frustrating for some, especially since a couple of churches have actually begun to resume their in-person worship. Now, our district is gathering its pastors together this week for a town hall meeting to hear from the pastors who have resumed in-person worship, to hear what they're learning, both good and bad. And some churches are having a little bit of success with this. One church I heard of went forward with relaunching 2 worship services on Sunday, and they had a total of 40 people come to those worship services. So it raises a question of stewardship of resources that we're going to have to wrestle with. Some have asked whether we could effectively do an outdoor worship service. And so we've looked into that, but again, we're not able to effectively live stream any of our worship services that would take place outside. But the staff has been working hard to come up with some creative solutions to help us scratch that itch that we have of wanting to gather back together in person and see one another and connect with one another in that way. One of the things that we've begun to offer is the sermon series, Faith at the Movies, that allows us to gather folks together in person on Friday nights for a screening of the movie. And we're really excited about being able to offer that opportunity for us to gather in that way. Just this past week, our staff came up with another idea of offering an opportunity to gather folks together once a month on Communion Sundays for an outdoor worship service that we're calling Sacrament and Song. It's not intended to be a replacement for our Sunday morning worship services. It's rather intended to simply be an opportunity to gather that same Sunday evening, sing a few songs together, hear some scripture, and share in Holy Communion together And then if the weather is nice, we can maybe gather for keep the gathering going with a bonfire in the field or something like that. But we wanted to offer that opportunity for us to continue to gather. We'll be doing it once a month on the first Sunday of the month, Communion Sundays, for sacrament and song. More details are still being worked out, so please stay tuned for information about those opportunities. In the meantime, we will continue to offer our live stream services, and we've been working hard to continually improve those and get them stable on a platform that will work for us for the long term. Now, as I mentioned during worship yesterday, we'd love to hear how that's working for you. We know that some are accessing through YouTube and some are accessing online through our website, and different people have had different experiences with both of those platforms. So we've been thinking that it would be best to gather everyone on one platform, our internet-based, through our website, so that we can feel that sense of community with one another through the chat and through other features like that. But we also know that others have more success with YouTube. So we'd really like to hear from you and know your experience. How are you connecting through the worship services? What's your experience technologically? Are you getting lags or jitter or anything like that? We really would like to hear that feedback. So you can send it to office@indianrun.org, or you can send it to my email address at jallen@indianrun.org, and we would love to hear from you about that. So finally, I want to just say thank you. Thank you for listening to this update. Thank you for your patience and your prayers. And I especially want to say a huge thank you to our staff, who continues to work tirelessly to provide creative and innovative ways to help us continue that sense of community, help us to stay connected with one another, help us to stay on mission of growing love in our community, and helping us to stay connected with our faith in this challenging season. So thank you to all of you. And we'll be sure to give you more updates as they come out. Thanks.